I am here with Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who's the author or editor of 36 books, which have sold more than 2 million copies, been translated into 32 languages, and become listed bestsellers in 12 countries. Along with his book Triggers, his two other New York Times bestsellers are Mojo and What Got You Here Won't Get You There. The Harold Longman Award winner for Business Book of the Year. He's been recognized as the 100 Best Leadership and Success Books to Read in Your Lifetime series. I mean, the Harvard Institute of Coaching has awarded him awards. I mean, this is very much an honor for me, Dr. Goldsmith. It's so nice to have you here.
Oh, it's so nice to talk with you. Thank you for asking.
Oh, you're welcome. And we actually got to meet recently at one of your MG 100 events, which I'm very fascinated in knowing more about that. You have a group of individuals who are really impressive. In fact, quite a few of them have been on my show. And I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about what led to that group and why you created it.
Well, I went to a program called Design the Life You Love, and it was put on by my good friend who is a member of the group, Aisha Bursell. And in this program, Design the Life You Love, she asked a question. She said, "Who are your heroes? Who are your heroes?" And then she said, "Why are they your heroes?" Well, it turned out my heroes were all very, very generous people who were great teachers. And then she said, "Well, why don't you try to become more like them?" Which is a very good challenge. If people are your heroes, you should try to be more like them. So what I said is, that's a very, very good point. I'm going to try to be more like them. So what I did is I made a little selfie video and put it on LinkedIn. The video lasted only 30 seconds. And the video said, "My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I got ranked #1 executive coach and #1 leadership thinker and #1 best-selling book. And I'm getting old, and I'm going to adopt 15 people, teach them everything I know for free, and the only price is when you get old, you have to do the same thing." So it turned out to be the most widely viewed video in the history of LinkedIn. I have over 1 million followers on LinkedIn. And then I ended up with 16,000 people applied.
Wow.
So I expanded it from the 15 to 100. I now have actually a little over 100, but the term is 100 coaches anyway. And these are wonderful people. You've met many of them. Francis Hesselbein, who won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Alan Mulally was CEO of the Year in the United States, CEO for Jim Kim, President of the World Bank. Then I've got 14 of the top 50 business thinkers in the world. I've got President of the Nature Conservancy, head of the New York Public Library, the CEO of the Rockefeller Foundation, CEO of the Mayo Clinic, the Dean of the Harvard Medical School, President of St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and CEO of Best Buy. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Just wonderful, wonderful people. And they just, it's been a nice idea just to give back. And we have 3 rules. One of the rules is there are no money, so it's all free. A second rule is there's no guilt. Nobody has any real or imagined pressure to do anything. And there are no expectations. So this is all voluntary. No money, no guilt, no expectations. And it's been a wonderful idea. People are so positive, and we've had a chance to meet many of them, just wonderful people.
It was really a very different feel. I've gone to a lot of groups. I've been part of different networking associations and that type of thing. And everybody there, like you said, the fact that there's no money required, you really have a completely different vibe going. You have people who really care about consulting and helping and coaching. And this is not for you to just, get all these people to pay money to you to get to part of your association, which is really a cool thing because you don't see that at all out there. And it's
very unique.
And the people, they're all just so incredible. I mean, one person you're talking to, he's sold 50 million books. The next guy, it's a who's who as you're sitting there talking to people. It was very humbling, but it was wonderful at the same time. Now, I'm curious how you picked. I mean, if you got all those names, how do you pick?
Well, there's not an exact science here. And one of the things you probably notice is we have a lot of diversity.
You did.
So, I've got some people. I have 3 people I put in the iconic category. Jim Kim, Alan Mulally, and Francis Hesselbein. Mm-hmm. Then I picked a lot of top thinkers. Of the Thinkers 50, we have, I think, 14 people from Thinkers 50. Then I got some nonprofit CEOs, some healthcare CEOs, some corporate CEOs, some former CEOs, some executives. And then I have leadership development people from a lot of the top schools. We have people from Harvard, and we have people from Wharton School and Duke and Rice and Northwestern. And then we got internal leadership people that train people internally, external people who give talks on leadership development. We've got coaches, executive coaches, more the traditional executive coaches. Then we've got like strategy advisors and culture advisors and execution people, entrepreneurs, a few entrepreneurs, small business coaches and family coaches and personal trainers. And then I have a category called just fascinating leaders from diverse fields, which is funny. I mean, one of these people is one of the world's top designers, Lieutenant Governor of West Virginia, world's top search person, the head of Sesame Street, the mission control director of NASA, the president of Inc. magazine. You know, just really interesting. The newest one is Chris Cuomo. I don't know if you know Chris. He's an anchor for CNN.
Yeah, I haven't met him, but So now, how did you say he's the latest one? So do you have people drop off at all, or is it just?
Well, not yet. I mean, I'm sure we will. You know, if they decide they don't want to do it,
I can't imagine.
Nobody has yet. There's not a great downside here.
No, there certainly isn't. How long ago was this that you started it?
It's almost been 2 years now.
Yeah. And so now that you've got so many at 100, did it change the dynamic? I mean, how does that impact it compared to what you originally had in mind?
You know, everybody's different. And I think the dynamic has been pretty much 100% positive. The reason is, I think, there's no expectation.
Right.
You know, some of the CEOs really can't put in 4 or 5 days at once. So they just don't come.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. And then we're doing a session in the next big program we're doing is going to be in Silicon Valley. It's going to be wonderful. They're going to Tesla. They're going to Google. They're going to all these places. You know, just an incredible program.
Wow.
And 100 people have already. I mean, it's sold out.
Yeah.
They have 100 people signed up to be there. So
who are the people that signed up for this? I'm curious.
Almost everybody.
You're talking about from your group.
Yeah, we have almost 100 people signed up, and then, you know, I mean, not everybody, but a huge, I think pretty much most people that could be there are going to be there.
That sounds awesome. Well, okay, so when I met you, you were doing videotaping in a room with every certain people that you were, you know, I'm not sure what that was about, because I know you were working with Sally Helgeson on your new book, How Women Rise, and
right.
She was there, and she's been on my show, and she's wonderful, and I hear the book's doing amazingly well, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so was that a part of that book launch, or was that something else that you were recording?
No, we were working on stuff for the book with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And, well, so it's anybody who's on LinkedIn and it's connected to you will see that you and Sally are everywhere with this book, which is really cool to see how you're launching this. How do you have the energy thinking about all these places that you're going? Your publisher must love you guys because you're really good at this.
I travel constantly. Oddly enough, you and I are about half a mile apart right now.
I know.
But you know, it is funny. Had I known I'd been your neighbor, I'd have just come over and been there in person.
We could have done this in person. I didn't know.
But I do on the American Airlines alone. I have over 11 million frequent flyer miles. So I'm a mega flyer. I've been to 101 different countries.
Wow. Now, I assume you don't have a problem with sleep then. If you can travel that much, you can sleep just about anywhere?
I have a great gift. I can sleep anytime.
That's the best.
When I was a kid, I used to hitchhike.
Oh, you did?
I hitchhiked 10,000 miles as a kid, and I've slept on the side of the road many times, in laundromats, under bridges, you know, so sleeping in hotels never a problem for me.
Well, okay, so you were born in Kentucky, is that what I read?
Yes, in Kentucky. Yes,
Yeah, and my husband did his surgical residency in Kentucky for his plastic surgery.
Yes.
He says it's beautiful there. I have not been there. But so now where are you now? Are you in California normally?
Well, my main home now is called Rancho Santa Fe, California. Mm-hmm. It's north of San Diego, and my second home is in New York City. So I have a home in California and a home in New York City.
Okay, so you still teach or not? Because you were teaching
Well, I teach at
executive
Dartmouth.
education.
I
Okay.
teach at Dartmouth Tuck School. I only teach about 10 or 11 days a year.
And so, well, that's nice. 10 or 11 days. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking you had whole semesters, so that's not so bad to do that.
No.
And then, but you're known for so many things. What do you? I mean, you were a pioneer in the use of 360-degree feedback. You've done. If I listed your awards, we'd be here for till tomorrow. And so I'm curious, what is that you've done that you're most proud of?
As I've grown older, my level of aspiration has actually gone down and down and down, but my level of impact has gone up and up and up. I quit worrying about what I'm not going to change. To me, what's important in life now is the small things. One person sends me an email and says, my life is a little bit better off because of something you did.
That's awesome.
That's enough. That's enough for me.
Well,
I'm not going to cure cancer. I'm not going to stop global warming myself. I'm getting older, so I realize, there's a lot I'm not going to do. It's not that it isn't important. It's just I'm probably not going to do it myself. So what can I do? And then I just try to help people have a little better life, and then maybe help the people around them have a little better life. And to me, that's good enough.
Well, I imagine a lot of people want to write books with you. I mean, your book. Okay, let's start with your book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Now, did you expect that to hit what it hit? I mean, and that, it just resonated with so many people. What did you think about that? That's like getting struck by lightning. There's no way to expect that. We just got a royalty check for about $100,000 2 weeks ago for 6 months worth of sales. Oh.
This is 11 years after the book came out.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
How many books have it sold?
I'm guessing 1.5 million.
I can't even imagine.
It just keeps going. And, a lot of life is luck. The New Yorker magazine wrote the story of my life. And that was an interesting experience. It led to the book. I had the woman followed me around 2 months. They take it very seriously. She followed me around 2 months. She wrote an 8,000-word story of my life, and you have no editorial control, and half of them, they just rip the people that they tell the stories about.
They would have a hard time doing that to you, though, I imagine.
Well, it's interesting. I thought, who's the customer? Who is the customer? And I decided the customer wasn't people that hire me. It was my unborn great-grandchildren. And then I just needed to act like myself. So after I died, these people who were the, children of my grandchildren, they would know who their great-grandfather was.
Oh, that's
so I decided the best thing to do is just act like myself. So I did.
And it was positive.
And as it turned out, that was the right thing to do anyway, because here's a woman with an IQ of 180. She does this for a living for the New Yorker magazine. I'm not going to fool her anyway in 2 months, right? And had I attempted to play games with her, she would have probably crucified me.
Well, that's similar.
Well, anyway, then Mark Ryder, who did the book with me, read it. He called me up and he said, that story is wonderful. And then he said, I've read all the stuff you've written before. It's not that good. He said, this story is so much better. I said, well, no kidding. I said, this woman is a writer for the New Yorker magazine. I have a day job. She can write better than I can. I'm not ashamed of that. He said, why don't we write a book that sounds like that? I said, buddy, if you can do it, let's do it. And he's my agent and co-author, and we've done 3 books together, and they've all been New York Times bestsellers.
Wow. Well, that's not your only movie. I was talking to Patrick Wazowski this week. And isn't he going to create a movie about you as well?
He is, yeah. He's doing a movie.
Yeah. What's that going to be about?
It's about my life.
How is that going to be different than the New Yorker one?
Yeah. It's just, so it'd be fun.
So it'll be different, a little different angle on it then.
Yes.
Well, so how long does it take to create the movie, did you say?
I don't know. Maybe a year, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right. Well, okay, so you've got all these people that a lot of them probably in your group would like to co-write books with you. You write some with, as you said, Mark Ryder and Sally Helgeson. How do you determine who to write a book with next if everybody's
so
good?
It depends on my role. The book that I wrote with Sally, that book was really accident. a guy named Mike Dulworth, who knows both of us, just sent us an email and said, crazy idea. And the idea was, well, when we write a book together that basically talks about what we ended up doing. And Sally said, what do you think? I said, why don't we do it? I thought it would be what I call a minor book, sell 25,000 copies or something. And turned out we got a huge advance, and the book's done great. It's far exceeded my expectations. We put this together before all of the recent issues, the Me Too issues, happened. So the fact the book just came out after that probably just increased the level of interest.
It has to. Yeah, that's a great timing. As far as the book goes, unfortunate timing as far as the other issue in general. But I was wondering about that, how, because books take so long to come out, so you couldn't have foreseen the level probably of what that would be like.
Right. Yeah, we had no idea.
But you've just, I'm curious about just how you got to be at this level, because I'm writing a book about curiosity, so I'm very curious about you and if your level of curiosity, and how can people develop that kind of a sense of curiosity to just do more with their lives. Do you have any input on that? I'd be curious.
Well, yeah, it's a very good question, because people ask me, where do I come up with all these ideas? I don't have any problem with ideas. I mean, I could do, if I had enough time, if, the day would stretch out to infinity, I could do plenty of books. I always have ideas, and I think it is because I'm curious. I just wonder about things like, why is this way? Why is that way? How things work. How's the world going to change? How are these changes going to influence people? I've always been kind of curious about these kind of things, and that's a nice thing about being around the 100 coaches is they're also smart.
Yeah.
That it's just a great way to learn, and then also, to me, when you're around someone who does something that's kind of like what you do, but not exactly like what you do, it's very good, because you're not competing in any way. You're just helping each other. For example, Rita McGrath, she's an expert on strategy. Well, I'm not an expert on strategy. So we can help each other, talk about how our work overlaps, how it doesn't overlap. I just got a call from one of the guys, Antonio Nieto Rodriguez. He's an expert on project management. He was ranked #1 project management thinker in the world. Well, what I do, now that I talk to him, I realize it really has a lot to do with project management. So he wants to write a book together about, how project management relates to coaching, or coaching for project management. So, there's just a lot of overlap, and, I could kind of go down this list and pretty much write a book with almost any of these people.
Well, I would imagine that there's a lot of things that, but you say that you're not really an expert in strategy, but I mean, what would be the area that, for me, I'm not crazy about statistics and certain things. I mean, what area have you become stronger because you've had this group around you? Is there something that you used to dislike that now, because you've met all these people, you've gotten better at it?
Oh, I would say, and this sounds obvious, is networking.
Right. That's a tough.
Yeah, because the group is a network. There is no hierarchy in the group. It's a network. Everybody's a volunteer, and it's just based on the assumption of, how can I help?
And so, how many times a year do you guys get together?
Oh, I think last year we had maybe 6 different meetings.
Yeah. Well, and what exactly are you talking about in the meetings? Because you said, I know you were doing the videos when I saw you, and some people said they were going to talk,
Well, they're all different. The meeting you were at was a wonderful meeting.
Yeah.
The meeting you were at, we had 3 primary speakers. We had Alan Mulally. Alan was CEO of Ford, CEO of the Year in the United States, probably the greatest leader in this century. Alan, he spent about 6 hours with the group. And, you realize to hire Alan to give a speech would be $150,000 a day, or for a speech even. And right. he does all this for free.
Wow.
And he's a member of the group, so he spends 6 hours with the group. Then we had Aisha Bursell, who's a wonderful woman, the world's #1 designer. She spent about 2 hours or 3 with the group. And then we had Chester Elton, who's an expert on recognition. He spent 2 or 3 hours with the group. And then we just talked to each other. So it was a wonderful day. I mean, just spectacular people. Then the one before that was at the World Bank. Jim Kim, the president of the World Bank, spent 2 days with the group.
Well, Chester's been on my show, and he's amazing. And Dr. Bob Nelson had invited me, and he's amazing. I mean, everybody who I've met through your group is just incredible. But I'm curious if someone wants to join your group now, is it possible, or is it?
Well, here's what I want to do next, because I get a lot of requests.
I'll bet.
Again, we have 16,000. I have a funny story. I was in India.
Uh-huh.
And India, I think half of India applied to be part of this group. And a woman comes up to me and she says, I feel sad. I applied to be in your group and I didn't get accepted. I said, well, there were 16,000 applicants for 100 slots. So,
right. It's
really, you don't have to be ashamed. Then I asked her, did you read the names of the people who did get accepted? She said, yes, I did. And I said, well, to be perfectly honest, if I look at the list of the people who did get accepted, if I applied today, I don't think I'd be accepted.
Well, it is a pretty impressive group, and I think that's great. You're humble, but I mean, of course, it's an amazing. I was talking to Price Pritchett. Well, I mean, how many books has he sold? I mean,
10 million.
Oh, unbelievable! And he was really awesome, interesting.
But Price Pritchett is an interesting case study. I'll tell you a story about him. So he applied.
Mm-hmm.
He applies for the group, right?
Right.
So I'm at the office, and I'm talking to Sarah. I'm not in my office, she's at my house, and Sarah, who works with me, is over there, and we're looking at the applications. And I said to her, this is interesting. This applicant's name is Price Pritchett. Mm-hmm. Same name as the famous Price Pritchett, the author. Mm-hmm. Huh, it's odd that they have the same name.
What are the odds? Yeah.
And that's what I said. I had no idea it'd be him, right? Uh-huh. So then I said, this is Price Pritchett. So I called Price up. I said, Price, what are you doing? I mean, he's 72, I think. And I said, look, man, I've sold 2 million books. You sold 10 million books. I said, why are you doing this? And you know what he said? He said, I may be 72, but I can still learn.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What a great attitude. You know what I said? You're in.
He was really great. I mean, he was offering me all kinds of help, with my book, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really nice of you. And I think it's that whole feeling is that's what you get from everybody in that group. Is it's just everybody's there to help. I met the woman who taught the Pope how to use Twitter. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she was amazing, and it was just such a fascinating experience to see people doing something because they just want to help everybody learn. And I think it really is important to be around people who have more experience or are at a higher level than you are, because you don't know what you don't know. I've said that before on my show, but I really think that when you get all these people together, don't you think it opens up ideas, just possibilities that haven't even been considered?
Yeah, it's wonderful. And, we have a nice age range. I'd say from, 34 to 102 is the age range. So
you have somebody who's 102?
Yeah, Frances Hesselbein.
She really? Oh, I didn't realize.
She's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's 102, and, and we have some people who are, I think, as young as 34, so we have a good range of ages.
Well, it's an interesting group and so now that you're working on this book and promoting with Sally on how women rise, now that'll take up quite a bit of this year, I imagine, for you, with all the stuff that you guys are doing. I've seen a lot of your pictures and your promotions.
Yeah.
What's your next project for a book?
Well, my next book is called Stakeholder-Centered Leadership. Mm-hmm. And that is more of a summary book of all of I've learned about leadership and the leader of the future. And that should be out pretty soon. And I'm considering a different experiment with that book, which will be give it away. Put it online for free.
Yeah.
Or for $1 or some, minimal amount of money. Uh-huh. And then basically people buy it for as cheap as I can sell it for.
Well, and your reasoning for that is just to give back, or are you trying to discover some kind of a data point from that? Or I'm curious.
No,
just
yeah, just give it to everybody.
Well, that's nice of you that you want to do that. And I think that it's very challenging to write a book, though, because I mean, right now with my book, I'm trying to create an assessment to measure what holds people back in their curiosity level. And I'll tell you, just the time and effort it takes to go through all this. I got a great appreciation for everything that you've done and all your work. I can't imagine. You must not sleep much, right?
Oh, I sleep 8 hours a day. I'm big on sleeping.
Oh. Well, that's good. I mean, just looking at what you've served on the board for the Peter Drucker Foundation for 10 years, you've done a lot of other services and things that have taken up a lot of your time. Do you work like nonstop or?
Well, you see, I mean, to me, it's kind of hard to say what's work and what isn't.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
I mean, I enjoy what I do, so sometimes I get paid and sometimes I don't get paid.
Yeah.
But to me, it's all the same.
Right. But now that you've been so successful, it's a little easier to not get paid than at the beginning. For somebody who's just starting out, is it?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I couldn't do this at the beginning of my career. I mean, I'd send a note out and say, I'm going to adopt 15 people, teach them everything I know, and the world would say, and who cares?
Well, you were definitely, you caught a lot of people's attention because of everything you've done is just very impressive. And I was really grateful that you would join me on the show. I'm sure so many people are so aware of your work, but in case they haven't had a chance to connect with you, is there like a site or some kind of link?
Just go to www.marshallgoldsmith.com. That's just my name. Marshall has 2 L's. And then also they could do LinkedIn. I have 1 million followers, so I put everything on LinkedIn. And I do videos all the time. And my next video series is going to be coming up with Chris Cuomo. And it should be fun. He's got a new show coming up. And he is going to talk about interviewing people. I told him, I said, you've got a new show, but this isn't just like an advertisement. Yeah. We're interested in because he's famous for being an interviewer.
Right.
And what techniques do you have to help everybody be a better interviewer, and what's it like to be interviewed? And I think we did about 12 tapes together.
Wow.
And they were a lot of fun.
Well, that does sound great. I had somebody actually interview me about how to interview this week, so I'd love to talk to him. He'd be interesting. So I look forward to seeing that. And thank you so much for being on this show, Marshall. This was so much fun.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.